From the News Channel 5 network, this is SportsLine.
Hey there, SportsLine on your television. Steve Lehman here with you. Glad you are here with us on this Wednesday night on News Channel 5. Plus, new digs for a little while here as well. So, glad to have you with us tonight. Phone lines will be open, 737-7767, if you'd like to join in on the conversation. I got several interesting guests to talk to as well. We'll get to Dansby Swanson, #1 draft pick of the Diamondbacks, now with the Braves, former Vandy boy legend, really, after the last couple of years he's had with them. We'll also talk to Taylor Cuneo, who is the Tennessee Gatorade Girls Cross Country Runner of the Year. We'll get to that interview coming up. We'll also talk some NFL draft combine stuff from last week up in Indianapolis. And we'll take your calls on what the Titans should do. So we've kind of seen everybody out there. The underwear Olympics, the spandex spectacular, whatever you want to describe what went on in Indianapolis last weekend. We've heard the interviews. We've seen the measurables. What do you make of it? What do you think at the top there? #1 pick for the Titans, Laremy Tunsil. You think he's the choice? A left tackle, which probably means you have to move Taylor Lewan over to the right side. Do you like Joey Bosa, another guy that has been kind of back and forth with Tunsil for the #1 prospect on the draft boards so far? Is he a fit in Tennessee? Or is he a different type of lineman that maybe they do not need? Is there somebody else that really stands out to you? And who are some of the other guys that maybe impressed you throughout the weekend? One guy that seems to have really gone up in a lot of people's eyes over the last few days is Ezekiel Elliott, the running back out of Ohio State. Already considered one of the best running backs in the draft, but pretty much on every draft board now, he is head and shoulders above Henry. He's the prototype size. He's got terrific speed. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's kind of elevated himself and separated himself from even the Heisman Trophy winner, which is saying something. I think Henry's going to be a really interesting guy, not just in the combine, but also in the NFL, because obviously he had a wonderful career at Alabama. He measures in at 248 pounds and still runs a 4.5 the other day in Indianapolis. So the measurables speak to the freak athlete that he is. But you always worry, I know teams do, about those guys that are taller, they're upright runners, because you tend to take more hits. You're easier to grasp onto when you run through the holes, which are a lot smaller in the National Football League. I think there's going to be some real concern about Derrick Henry and how he translates, a little bit like Trent Richardson, another guy kind of in that mold, not the same way, not nearly as big, not as freakish, but he was another guy that came out of Alabama and everybody thought, oh man, look at the numbers he puts up. How good can he be in the NFL? And at this point, he's been an abject bust in the National Football League. So I think it'll be very interesting to see, one, if Henry gets a rebound here and shoots back up towards the top of the running back grades and sneaks himself into the first round or top half of the first round or whatever people maybe thought initially he could go. And then the second part of that is, once he actually gets into the league, what will he do? What will the numbers look like for Derrick Henry over the first few years and then the course of his career in the NFL? Your thoughts on that, 737-7767. Also, March Madness officially underway and pretty exciting so far. Lipscomb, for the third straight year, opening March Madness, the first day of the month, first game of the March Madness season. The Atlantic Sun Tournament opener on the road last night at Jacksonville. J.C. Hampton with 35 points ties the game in the final seconds of regulation. They go to overtime. Third straight year the Bisons go into overtime in that opening game. This time they're able to pull it out. So for the second straight year they win, this time over 3-seed Jacksonville on the road in overtime. And here's the great part about it. Stetson also was an upset winner last night over NJIT. So that means the Bisons of Lipscomb will host the biggest game in Allen Arena history tomorrow night as they host the Atlantic Sun semifinals against Stetson. Casey Alexander's old team. He gets them in Allen Arena tomorrow night for the chance to go play for an automatic bid this weekend. The other game, it's chalk. It's North Florida, Florida Gulf Coast, probably the two best teams in the league, even though they're the 1 and the 4 seeds. So it's going to be a heavy favorite coming out of that game against whoever wins between Stetson and Lipscomb. But I was talking to Casey Alexander earlier today, and think about this. You get the chance to play a home game in your conference tournament in the semifinals. 40 minutes to get to that championship game, and that is what everybody at the mid-major level aspires, is to get your one shining moment, so to speak, in the championship round of your conference tournaments, where if you win those 40 minutes, you cut down the nets and go to the big dance. And Lipscomb now has the chance for 40 minutes on their home court to have that opportunity. That's a pretty cool thing, for sure. I expect it to be a rowdy atmosphere tomorrow night at Allen Arena. I also expect it to be a rowdy atmosphere across the street at Municipal Auditorium, because tonight, Austin Peay, back into the tournament for the first time in a few years under Dave Luce, upsets Tennessee Tech over there in game number 1. So tomorrow night, it's going to be Peay against Tennessee State, who's back in the tournament for the first time since 2012. So you've got a couple of programs here who haven't been across the street for a while. They haven't had this opportunity, and here they are playing on in the OVC tournament. I think that's going to be a really fun game tomorrow night, 6 o'clock as well at Municipal Auditorium. The Tigers, to me, have a great chance to win this tournament. They just beat Belmont pretty badly over the weekend at the Gentry Center. If they win tomorrow night, that's who they're going to get on Friday. They'll get Belmont again. I think they're right up there. I think Belmont's got to be the favorite. They're the regular season champ. They're predicted to be in that position. Morehead State, I put as a slight favorite out of the other side of the bracket, probably in front of UT Martin. But to me, the third best team in the field is TSU. And after what they did to Belmont over the weekend and the looks of that matchup, I think there's a real shot that Dana Ford's team could do some serious damage in this field. The one interesting thing for them is, again, none of these guys have played in this stage. None of these guys have been in an OVC tournament before. None of them have played in the postseason for TSU before. So when that ball goes in the air tomorrow night, how do they respond? Do they rise to the moment, or is that a nerve-wracking start to the game tomorrow night? And the other interesting thing, you got the double stepladder type of bracket in the OVC. So TSU gets the single bye to tomorrow night. A team like Belmont, a division leader, gets 2 byes all the way into the semifinals on Friday. That's nice protection. It means you have to win fewer games, obviously, to eventually cut down the nets. But I think it gets a little fuzzy when you start the tournament, because Austin Peay plays well tonight. They win big over Tennessee Tech. Now they're riding confidence and excitement into tomorrow night's game. And TSU's walking out there, perhaps with some of those nerves we've talked about, because they haven't been on the stage in a while. So I think it's an interesting start to the game tomorrow night. Can Austin Peay continue their performance from tonight? And how does TSU come out? Do they embrace the moment, rise to the occasion, or are they jittery early on? 737-7767 are our numbers. We can talk March Madness as well. The Vanderbilt women a winner today over Ole Miss in the SEC tournament down in Jacksonville. The Belmont women beat TSU today in the OVC tournament across the street, so they will advance to the semifinals. The top seed on the women's side of the bracket, UT Martin, upset today by Murray State. So that means Belmont, the highest remaining seed in both brackets. Top seed on the men's side, the 2 seed women, highest remaining seed in the OVC women's tournament. The SEC men's tournament, of course, next week here in Nashville. Vanderbilt playing well down the stretch. Got their 4th consecutive win last night over Tennessee. Gritty defensive effort in that game. I think you have to like that if you're Kevin Stallings and crew. And you got to like the way the Commodores are playing right now. I said it a couple weeks ago. on Sunday Sports Central. It had been a frustrating year. As a matter of fact, I called them the biggest disappointment in the country up to that point. But we all know that the season is defined by what you do this time of year. In March, are you in the tournament? What do you do when you get to the tournament? Do you put up banners at the end of the year for championships or Final Fours or whatever? So as frustrating as it's been for Vandy fan this year, watching the frustrations of December, watching the early SEC frustrations, this run here where they've now won 7 of 9 games and 4 in a row, they're in the tournament. It would take a considerable collapse at A&M Saturday and first game next week, and frankly, I'm not even sure that would do it now to get Vanderbilt out. That's how good this run has been. I think Vanderbilt is in the tournament now, barring complete disaster or a bunch of bid thieves over the next couple of weeks. So it's not a disaster anymore because they've at least gotten to the tournament, and that was a minimum expectation for this year. Now the question is, what can they do in the tournament? Can they advance a few rounds? Can they get to the second weekend and really make a run at this thing? And if they do that, everyone's going to forget about the frustrations of the regular season because they will accomplish something in the postseason. And that was kind of the message a couple weeks ago. I did not know, off of that game in Mississippi State where they blew a 17-point second-half lead, which looked like it was one of the initial nails in the coffin of this Vanderbilt season. I did not know they'd bounce back and win 4 in a row. To beat Georgia, to go to Florida and win at the O-Dome, to come back and beat Kentucky, to beat Tennessee in a rivalry game, and now they go down to Texas A&M. And by the way, still just a game back in the SEC race. So if you get a little help and you go down there and take care of business, it's possible Vanderbilt could still get a share of the SEC championship. Amazing how things change in just a couple of weeks. All right, we got to take a break. Our phone lines are wide open if you'd like to get in on the program tonight. 737-7767 is the number. Stay tuned. We will be back with more SportsLine after this.